A fashion designer's impact goes beyond the runway. They change the way we look at ourselves and those around us. Video fashion designers chronicles their past successes and follows their evolution into the 21st century. An Emilio Pucci print is undeniably beautiful. Its swirling lines and vivid color mixes are unrivaled. But few realize that it was Emilio Pucci's sporty background that gave him the understanding of movement and comfort that paid dividends in his fashion.
Having always been a very active person and engaged in all sorts of sports, some competitive and some not, I considered that you cannot have clothes which do not move with the body.
But it was his mastery of print and color that allowed Pucci to stand alone in the Italian fashion industry of that time.
I produced a lot of, worked with chemists and produced colors which did not exist. And this, in time, got to a number of about 220 different shades of colors. And then I found something very strange. If you pick flowers in a field and put them in a vase, they look perfect. You can pick a yellow flower and a pink rose and it looks all right. The same thing happens with natural colors. I couldn't make any mistake.
Emilio Pucci passed away in 1992, just as his designs were being appreciated by a new generation. Until his final collection, each and every print that Pucci famously put his name on was flawless. In 2000, hoping to accelerate growth and attract a new generation of clients, his daughter Ladomia and her mother sold a majority stake in the house to fashion conglomerate LVMH. Under its guidance, a series of creative directors were brought in to revitalize the house for the 21st century. Starting in the fall of 2001, Puerto Rican-born Julio Espada took over the reins with uneven success. In 2002, after 3 seasons, Espada was replaced by Christian Lacroix. Haute couturier and LVMH stablemate, Lacroix seemed an obvious choice to take over. He had cited Pucci as an influence in his spring 1991 collection and was a connoisseur of color and print.
Between the house of Pucci and myself, there are a lot of links, and being a child during the 60s, I opened my eyes on women wearing these kind of colors.
However, when LVMH sold the Christian Lacroix label in 2005, Lacroix's relationship with Pucci was also dissolved. Next in line was Matthew Williamson, another designer with an eye for color and print. The young Brit took the helm in 2006. In 2008, Williamson was replaced with Peter Dundas, a former chief designer of Roberto Cavalli and Emmanuel Ungaro. Dundas has injected the label with a high dose of sex appeal, and paired with the house's established sense of jet-set glamour, he revitalized the label, making it the go-to brand for red carpet regulars.
I was really thinking about the girl today, as well as looking at archives. I wanted to really focus on what the spirit of the girl means to me. A girl that loves music, that loves life, that loves to travel, that loves to go out, and somebody in French you say bon vivant.
I was really surprised and delighted by Emilio Pucci. I thought Peter Dundas made a really different debut, and the Pucci family apparently wanted something much more modern, and gee whiz, they certainly got it.
Loved it. Loved it, I think full of energy, and it just was a very well thought out concentrate of Pucci's yesterday and Pucci's today.
I was really excited for Peter Dundas. You know, he has a challenge on his hands in terms of giving new energy to the house of Emilio Pucci and finding ways to make it interesting for a new generation. And, you know, key to that is sort of thinking beyond the signature Pucci print, and he really did that.
I always love clothes that have movement in them, and fur does, and so that's why I use them. I'm from the Great White North as well, so it's something utilitarian for me as well.
What I liked was the fact that he'd actually gone back into the archives of the family, which the family's 600 years old. So you had kind of slightly medieval things coming in. And I just thought it was very, very clever. There were coats of arms and there were motifs featuring the griffin. And I just thought that lent it much more of an interesting edge. Suddenly you weren't looking at just a house that was about print.
There's a book on it that's absolutely astonishing, and I couldn't believe, oh, this is Pucci. It was such a clear translation between the heritage of the house and what I think of as Pucci today.
He also sort of took the collection in a real rock and roll direction, and when you think about it, that's the way the jet set really likes to dress these days. Everybody wants to look like a rock star.
Well, it's a big luxury to have all the style working out of the headquarters in Florence. That's a dream, and I think it's the big novelty of now is having basically him full time.
It's not always obvious how to approach a brand when you're starting, and what to use and what not to use and all. And they've been really so understanding with that, and so just fantastic. It's been a real pleasure. Taking my obsession with the Pucci girl, taking her to the beach, taking her underwater, like having fun freeing her as ever. But it was really like finding new volumes, like evolving the body conscious elements by doing some things that are a little bit softer, a little bit more feminine, and having fun with the prints, and doing a little bit more color without losing attitude.
The Emilio Pucci show sent out a very clear message, and that is that sex sells. And it's almost like a return to the 90s, the era of the supermodels. The skirts are extremely short. There's a lot of transparency, there's a lot of glitz and glitter, there's a lot of peekaboo holes, cleavage, corsetry. Everything is really emphasizing the body.
Pucci was certainly revved up and sexed up. Peter Dundas knows his girl likes a lot of action. Bodycon, bodycon, bodycon.
Loved it. I must say that it's been a very, very interesting second step of Peter, because it kept some essentials but moved much more into the airy, the watery, the elements, all those yummy colors, and the prints were, you notice them, but they're not overwhelming due to the flow with the body, flow of the fabric, and very couture at the same time, in the detail, and I think that's really fabulous. I think, he really expresses a ready-to-wear that's Italian with a couture hand, and I think I like that very much.
It's really like the long for me is less of a formal thing and more of a something beach connected. A lot of the long that I had for evening was in fact bathing suits, which I had with skirts over them, with pareo skirts over them. I love a short dress. It's really up to you, I think. That's I think what summer is about as well. It's freedom to choose. I like to think of femininity as something very empowering and a very, very, very strong weapon, sometimes dangerous even. So I suppose my collections is about playing with that. Well, I was really looking for something more sumptuous, and as far as the choices of materials, I used velvets, which was something quite typical to the house during the 70s. But I did Devereux motifs in it, the Devereux motifs in that. I used fil coupé, which is like a metallic. I did a lace with a Pucci motif as well. So it was really I wanted to make things that made you hungry. I don't know how to explain it otherwise. That provoked emotions in you.
I thought Emilio Pucci was really aiming for the babe brigade. the Babe Brigade with a platinum card, because those clothes are going to be extremely expensive, even though they are wisps of fabric, just like, I mean, blink and you miss it. Was that a dress? One dress looked even like a scarf. Just a little thing tied with some gold fringing. I did love the prints. They were based on a 1972 archive print, actually designed by Count Emilio Pucci himself. But Peter Dundas had over-dyed and over-printed and shadow-dyed on top. So you got this rather smoky, slightly somber, he said opium den effect. And it was very Art Nouveau and quite Klimt, especially when you got the sort of aquamarine and gold and emerald and gold. I thought that was very, very effective. But I'd like to have seen dresses with just perhaps a little more fabric in them. Not too much to ask.
I've seen your things on the red carpet last season. How does that feel?
Well, you know, I'm very happy and it's very flattering. I think it's also something that I'm happy for the team to see as well, because it's always, you know, it's like I'm a pretty hard worker, but I also push people around me to work very hard, and so it's nice for them to see the things as well photographed, and that the clothes, that the collections that we do here come to life. Well, I just want it to be like a really strong presence in fashion, I hope. You know, I think it's such a fantastic brand. I think it deserves to be up there.
What can I say? Yes. I've been wearing a lot of Pucci lately, so I wanted to come to the show and see the new collection.
Well, I was really thinking about my holidays in Greece, or Greece in particular. I'm building a house there. I realized that it's almost like making a collection, and for the first time even. So I kind of tried to do some synergy with like my efforts and my research and everything. So the colors were really inspired by the Cyclad architecture, which is all blue and white, and there was like, I used spice colors as well. They were inspired by the raw leathers that they used to make the handicrafts, the bags and the sandals and so forth.
Incredible artisanal technique, incredible craftsmanship, and a kind of cleverness about print. I think he faded the prints in this case. He stripped away the print, so it was like a remnant of it in those very beautiful chiffon dresses. So it weds a kind of crazy artisanal craftsmanship that's so like refined to something that's so kind of over the top obvious. Like if you wear that dress and you have a great body, you're hot. That it's very, very compelling, and it's the kind of compelling that makes fashion fun.
It was a great show. You could tell the models felt hot. Not literally hot, we felt literally hot sitting in the audience, but the girls felt like they looked amazing.
Peter Dundas continues just to turn the heat up on that collection again. Boho, peasant, rich hippie everywhere. The idea of lace-up suede boots, very 70s in its sensibility, underneath all those great little micro minis, and again, to the floor dresses.
I heard that maybe Kylie Minogue and Jada Pinkett Smith are going to be here today, and you know, that's great for sort of brand recognition, and you know, I'm really happy for Peter that so many celebrities have discovered him and have started wearing him on the red carpet.
Oh, it was fantastic. I'm so happy. I saw a couple of pieces that I love, so I'm very excited. I loved it. I'm a fan of Peter, I'm a fan of Pucci, and I thought the full-length dresses with the low backs were just delicious.
I'm flattered when anybody wears my clothes. I mean, one of the things I love the most is just to see a great girl in the street wearing something that I made. That's the most flattering of all. This time I was working with portrait necklines because I was referencing a lot or inspired a lot from Roberto Polidori's books on the restoration of Versailles. And looking at that and starting looking at like a winter halter as well from the same period, and the portrait necklines became the start of the story. Astra, Loden, Huntresses, a little bit the Grimm brothers fairy tales as well, and that's why it was a little bit dark. I wanted it to be like a little bit frightening but happy in the end.
Interesting, that whole idea of the Von Trapp family, a little Germanic, if you will, a little bit of Heidi in the Alps, and from a gentleman who loves a real rock and roll spirit in a super, super short dress. Hemlines dropped at Pucci. I didn't think I would ever see it happen under Peter Dundas.
I thought it was insane, even more magical than I even expected it to be.
Peter Dundas at Pucci really went in a new direction. He always does a really sexy girl, but in the past she's been much more hippie, deluxe, and this season he really shifted the focus. I think that the Pucci girl has always been a leg girl, and now it was all about the bust, and the dresses were just as sexy and as beautifully made as anything we've seen in this city this week, and those dresses, the Hollywood girls are going to go insane for them.
Pucci was one of my favorites because I love the twist. I love how Peter twists in a kind of Amadeus Mozart way, and he put this romantic touch in a fierce collection.
I like to accentuate certain parts of the body, or parts of the body. I love the woman's body, and I love discovering parts of it. I love discovering lingerie or accidents where you can see a little bit of her underwear. So it was that, simply.
In Milan, the Emilio Pucci show is always a must-see during Fashion Week, and designer Peter Dundas delivered with a sexy gypsy-inspired collection for Spring-Summer 2012.
Really was the gypsy couture. I love the idea of like something hip, bohemian and easygoing for summer, and that was a natural one. I found some beautiful pictures of Brigitte Bardot in the 70s. She had this gypsy period as well, and with all these patchworks of different fabric mixed together, and that really became the starting point of the collection.
Peter outdid himself. He took the DNA of Pucci and brought it to a new level. And he's a real romantic. He absolutely showed he loves women, and those billowing skirts in the beginning, the maxi skirts, every girl should own one.
Nobody does the sex pot like Peter Dundas. So many Italian brands have a heritage of scarf prints, and they stick with that motif forever. And that's great, and it's fine, but it doesn't really bring a lot of excitement. And Peter's done a good job about making the brand more relevant. I mean, it's very specific, though. If you have to be a certain type of person to want to wear clothes like this. But for what he does a good job.
It was beautiful, really beautiful, and I think he's evolving the brand of Pucci in a really smart way. So it's clearly become very red carpet, very evening, very sexy, very body conscious. And I think what he's done is really evolved it from a brand that was known very specifically for its kind of print into something much more glamorous and evening-y.
It was all, I've done tons and tons of embroideries and handicraft and artisanal work this time. I think it's really a time in fashion as well, in Italy especially, to really show what we do best. And I'm proud of my collaborators and proud of their know-how. And I try to, and this school's collection about putting that to the best use possible.
I think Peter is a genius. I think that, I always expect something else and I get something different.
Belgian was kind of like snuck in there because it was I saw the movie like about 3 months ago and I was like, dude, I just saw it for the pleasure of it. And all of a sudden I realized that she was full on in the collection,
Well, super sexy and a little subversive, the entire show opening with one amazing dress after another with a slash that was backed with chiffon. But a little bit of a good girl, bad girl. She was covered up and yet at the same time just exposing just enough.
There's also a lot about the menswear elements and playing with those and slashing into that as well and messing it up as well, which I like to do. It kind of usually happens by itself. This time it was a little bit more thought out maybe.
I loved the new silhouette of the pant, the high waist and the cropped leg, and the jackets, the dinner jackets, the white one and that sky blue one. I think that we'll be seeing a lot of those in the fashion crowd next season.
It was really sexy. I think the girls were loving the looks as well. It was really body-fitting, a lot of black, which is a little unusual for Pucci, but certainly in the heritage as well. But the dresses were gorgeous.
He began with very sexy but demure black dresses, but when he segued into those pastel colors, again I go, oh my goodness, it's a trend. There was a softness to the collection. It wasn't in-your-face glamour. It was demure, it was still sexy, and he took the prints and he toned them down a bit.
These few prints, they're so soft and so nice for women. I think that it's very feminine too.
There's no skin. That was one of the big changes. No bare skin.
It's so desirable, but I think it's a fantastic exercise of quality of details. It's just so coherent, makes so much sense, and I think it respects the heritage.
Peter Dundas certainly loves to make it revved up and give his girls a reason to go out, and there was a lot of great clothes there.
He really made something luxurious and feminine. He really defined a new kind of woman for Pucci.